What I'd like to do is in this session is to take you through the steps of creating an account with Screencast-o-matic and going through the basics of how to record your screen with it. And to do that, I'm going to put the address in chat. You just go to the website, which is screencast-o-matic.com with hyphens before and after the O. And I just put that in the chat. And when you get there for the first time, it'll give you the option of signing up for an account. And it's a free account, or you can sign up for a free account. And I already have done that. I've used this periodically for years. Hi, Nasha. We're going to actually try going through this. Do you have an account on Screencast-o-matic?
I don't think so, but I'll get one.
Okay, I just put the URL in the chat. If you click on that, it will take you there. And then you will have the option of creating a free account. You should see something that looks something like this, except I already signed into it. I have an account and it's now automatically logging me in. But when you, let me log out and I'll do that now. So when you first get there, it should look like this. What you would do the first time is click on sign up, it's free. And one of the options there, and this is probably the easiest way to do it, is to sign in with Google. So if you click on sign in with Google, you can then choose one of your Google accounts. I'm using my Oswego one here, but you can use any Google account you have. And it will, if you have your credentials saved, it will automatically log you in. And then you get to this screen. Let me know when everyone's there.
So you're sharing screen. We're seeing you. We don't see the share screen.
Oh, I thought I was sharing the screen.
But it's okay. I'm doing it. I'm getting to the, so I'll choose the education versus the business.
I don't think that matters. I think that's just telling you how it's used in each case. I think the pricing is the same.
Okay. All right. So I'm on their main screen then.
Okay. And what you should see then is something that looks like this.
Yep.
Okay. Now, there's a couple things you have to do. The first time you set this up, you click on two things. One is to capture a screenshot. And what will happen is if this is the first time you've done it, it will download something that you then have to, a little program that'll run through the browser. So this is all browser based, but there's a plugin, well, there's an app that it runs that it connects to. And that should download, it should come down pretty quickly. It's a pretty small file. And then click on it to install it. It may ask you, it should ask you for permissions to capture your screen.
Yep, downloading. Okay.
So now if you double click on that, it should load and run it. And it will almost certainly ask you for permissions to access your screen, because to do a screen recording, it has to be able to access the screen.
Okay, so I see how it's saying to, if I do this screenshot, you basically have to choose an area on your screen.
Yes, so yeah, so if you do it, and is that working already for you?
Yeah, so I did it and it said captured the screenshot.
Okay. And see, I used this last on a different computer, so I've got to install it on here. So it should look something like that. And if you're running it, are you running it on a Mac?
No, on Windows.
Okay. In Windows, it opens up pretty directly. If it's a Mac, you have to go into the settings. It'll pop up a little thing from the Apple security settings and so forth. And then you click ready to take a clean screenshot. You click ready. And this is useful if you just want to grab some images that you're going to use in your video. So if you're doing a demo, you might just want to grab things at certain points, and you You click and drag whatever size area of the screen you want. And it
Okay.
could be the whole screen if you want. And then you just do a Control V to paste it into something. So you could paste it into a slide or a Word document, or, you know, into a Word document or PowerPoint or Google Slides or whatever you want to have that image. So it's a nice, simple screen capture tool. But to actually record videos, including your screenshot, you would have to launch the recorder. So this will be a similar process, except this time it will probably ask you, it'll download, and it will probably ask you for permission to access a camera, your web camera. Or you may have to click the webcam icon to do that. Now I'm going to see if I can, I've got two little webcams on here, so I'm going to see if I can connect. Okay. So in this one, I am able to connect to, because I have my separate web camera going out on Zoom. This maybe is transmitting a bit of video here, but it's also capturing it right here. And if you want, you could flip it horizontally, reverse it if you wanted to. It depends on what you're doing. If you're going to be recording something, if, for example, you were using a dot camera, you would not want it to be flipped because all the letters would be reversed. But if it's you, it looks more natural when it's flipped, so that it looks like the mirror image of you rather than a flip version because of the camera's perspective. And then because I ended up getting the paid version of this, I have the option of removing the background color, which it just detected right there. And, you know, I could also, you can adjust it so that you got a green screen effect if you want to record yourself with the transparency. My green screen doesn't, with this camera, it doesn't quite, well, there it goes. Okay, so now I have a green screen, so it'd be just capturing what you see in front of that checkered background, which is a transparency layer. But there you do have to have the paid account, which costs, I guess, it's something like at a minimum $1.65 a month to be able to do that. But the free version, you can do it. It would just have the background in. So I'll leave the background in just to show what the free version does. And then if you go back to the settings, there were some options here. If you only want to record the screen and your voice, then you would just click screen. If you just want to record you without the screen, you would click on the webcam. If you want to record you, if you want to record what's on the screen, but have your talking head there in the final recording, then you would click both. And now it'll put a little talking head down in the bottom. You can move that around, you know, if you want. So you may want to move it out of the way for now, so it's not covering much of the screen. And that will give you the typical type of screen capture that Panopto does, for example, or many other tools. And you can choose, you can turn on computer audio if you want. The computer audio would be used only if you were going to be playing some music clips or other things on your computer that you would want captured. Otherwise, it's only going to pick up what it can hear on the microphone. And you can set the maximum amount of recording time. The free account and the deluxe accounts are limited to 15 minutes. But in general, with most instructional videos, you probably don't want them to be longer than 15 minutes anyway. And you can choose the size of what you capture. You could choose a 480 resolution here, which is 480 by whatever that ratio is. You could choose a 720. You could choose whatever the active window is. So if you have multiple windows on the screen, whichever one is in the front, it would capture only that. So if you have other things separate, you could just capture one thing. Or most of the time, you probably would just want to use, maybe not, but in my applications, I generally just want to capture the full screen. So that grabs a whole screen, and it's high def. It's 1024 by 768 or whatever that resolution is. And now it's grabbing the whole screen, and it put a boundary around it so you could see where it was. And so if you wanted to capture something smaller, let's say if we wanted this, you have the ability to move it around. Or if you want to make it a custom size, so you're only capturing a portion of the screen, if some of it you don't want to capture, you could just drag and drop the corners to, you know, make it narrower or larger or whatever. So you got the same sort of flexibility you do with most screen capture recordings. But I'm going to go back to the full screen. because most faculty uses this would be to record demos of software. For example, if you were running a statistical package and you wanted to show how to run various things, how to load data, how to execute various commands, you probably want the whole screen just to get a nice high def resolution of everything. If you were doing a narrated slideshow, you'd probably have your PowerPoints out on full screen or Google Slides or whatever presentation software you're using. You want to make sure that that you're seeing green bars when you're talking, and you can select the microphone if you have multiple microphones here. This is using a default one, and I can leave it at that. So I could pick, I have my computer one, I've got one in the web camera, and I have a mixer connected to the microphone that I'm using here. The default one, I think, is the one connected here. And I can leave it at that. And the rest you can pretty much leave it as it is. You can configure what keys you want to use for various commands. The defaults work pretty nicely, for me at least. It puts the control bar in the bottom, and you can pause by pressing Alt-P, or there's a little pause button, as we'll see in just a second. And we actually can start recording. So this is another way of recording the screen here, and I'm going to click the record button. It's going to give me, as most of these programs do, a countdown, and it's now actually recording what it sees from my camera with the green screen behind me, and it's recording everything on the screen. And now I could go over to a web browser, browse something, and narrate it, or I could have a slideshow open. I could be just going through, PowerPoint or Google Slides and just do a presentation. And when you're done, you've got this little button. You could use the Alt-P and whatever the other buttons are. What I normally just do, though, is use this command. So here you can just click on that to pause the recording. Then you get this little control bar. It shows that it's recorded 32.20 seconds. And then you could either turn on draw and zoom. So if you want, you could draw on the screen. I think you can do that with the free version, although I'm not positive. And when you're done, you could just click done. You can also zoom in on a portion of the screen if when you're talking, you want to focus on a narrow part and blow it up as an overlay on top of the other. I don't think that's available in the free version, but the rest of this you can do. So I'm going to click done. And now you get three options. You can save and upload it. So you could save it to your computer or upload it to a variety of places. We'll look at those in a minute. You could do a quick share, which is a quick upload and copy link to share. And that'll go to its own cloud, and you get a certain amount of storage. We'll look at the amount that you get for free with various plans, but you don't have to share it to something. You don't have to share it to theirs. You could directly upload it to Panopto for the campus if you want to share things only with your classes. You could share it out to YouTube if you want to share something more broadly. And there's a few other places, and we'll take a look at those. Or what you may want to do is choose Edit. Now, if you have the free version of Screencast-o-matic, your editing is really limited. Basically, the only thing you're able to do to edit is drag and drop the beginning here. So so you can, if we go to the timeline here, you can trim off the beginning. Where is it trimming? It didn't work this way on my Mac. Well, you certainly can cut it, but there should be. When I was doing this on my Mac, it gave me two bars at the end that I could drag in from the bottom or the top to trim the beginning or the end. What it looks like on the Windows version, and I thought this would be the same, is you have the option of cutting at this point. And when you cut it, okay, it has the drag and drop. So basically I can cut off that whole beginning, and then it'll cut the beginning off, and it just cut it and click. So it's highlighting what you cut. You can, because I didn't screen the computer, you're not hearing it, but it's actually playing my voice there. And then when you're done, you just click OK, and it cuts that beginning part out. And you can do the same thing anywhere. So you can only do the trimming beginning and end with a free one. With either of the paid plans, you have the ability to cut out certain parts. So if you repeated a word, or if you just want to cut out a segment, you can just block it. So we can start a segment here, and we can choose cut, and then we have the option of dragging it. And I'm not sure how clear it is on your screen, but you should be able to see a red highlighted area, and then you get it to where you want it to be, and just click OK, and it's going to cut that segment out. And the Control-Z key will undo it, just as it does with most programs. But you also, well, in the free version, that's about the limit of your ability to edit. And we'll look over the others later. But once you're done, you click Done. Once you've trimmed off the beginning and the end, you then say you're done, and you go over to either saving it as a video file, uploading it to Screencast-o-matic, or more generally, you could click on this and you get a larger list. So you can save as a video file directly to your computer, and you choose where you want it saved. You could upload it to Screencast-o-matic, and they'd host it on their website up to a certain amount of storage. Or you could upload it to YouTube. You have to log into your YouTube account, but once you do, it'll save those credentials, and you can directly upload it to YouTube. You could upload it to Vimeo, or you could save it in Google Drive or Dropbox. So you could connect this to your SUNY Oswego or any other Google Drive account, or if you have a Dropbox account, you could upload it to there. So I'm just going to, well, let me try uploading it to YouTube. Okay, so it's trying to talk to YouTube for the first time. So now it's letting me log in to YouTube, and it's going to ask for my permissions. So I'm going to use my Oswego account just as a demo, and I will be careful to delete this one once I'm done, because I probably don't want this on my channel, where I do have lots of videos for where my students are. This is giving Screencast-o-matic the ability to access your YouTube account. And this is used by a lot of people. It's relatively safe. Click allow, and now it's done. So now when I want to publish it, I can just go up. You can change the name if you don't want to use recording number 2, because this is only the second time I've used it on this computer. I'm going to call this junk, because it's not exactly the highest quality video I've created. You can set the privacy right from here, and you could, by default, it's public, but you could change it to private, so only people you explicitly share it with would have access. Or you could share it as unlisted, where you get a link which you can then choose to share with other people. They, of course, would be free to share it with others as well. But that's the thing. That's a way in which many faculty will share things with their classes if they don't want them shared more broadly, if they upload to YouTube. And you get to choose a category. You get to captions aren't supported. Well, yeah, captions aren't supported in the upload to YouTube, because this does have captioning ability itself, and it does a pretty nice job, because YouTube itself will do the captioning. So it doesn't need to do the captioning on YouTube, because YouTube does the captioning. And you can choose the resolution. You could leave it at normal. You could do it as a faster upload at a lower resolution, or you could do it at a higher resolution, but at a slower speed. So, that's your choice. If you're in a hurry, choose the lower with a faster upload, or leave it higher if you want a higher quality video. And that's pretty much everything with a free account. And again, you can always, well, I'll click publish, and we'll see it head over in the background. So there we go. And once it's there, I'll let it continue. Well, we can just get a feel for it. This one's pretty quick, so it should go very quickly. Unlike the videos that are uploading in the background on my computer, which are taking like a half an hour or 40 minutes or so. And I'll let that just continue in the background. And then it shows up as one of your videos that are active here. You notice there's an option here to connect it to Zoom, and that's an interesting option. And it will also give Screencast-o-matic direct access to videos you created with Zoom and stored either locally on your computer or that you've stored in the Zoom cloud. So if you have editing features enabled, you can configure this. And let me try. I haven't actually done that yet. And it should be asking me some questions. One more time, connect with Zoom. There we go. And I'm going to just connect with local recordings, and they should be in Documents/Zoom. And if I wanted to, I could connect with cloud recordings. I usually leave mine just locally because I know at Oswego, they delete the files there at least every year and maybe every 6 months. So I'm just going to give it access to the files here. And then any of the files that I've saved on my computer such as all of these workshop recordings, it now has access to. So I can now go in and import them and get any of those. So let's say done. And now I should be able to grab things from there. So I can go in and grab, Okay, I haven't actually tried that. So I probably shouldn't say much more about that. Now, that's basically all you can do with a free account. You can record a video. It could include your video from a web camera. It can record the screen, and you got some basic trimming ability, the ability to shorten the beginning or the end. And when we were recording Zoom recordings in various classrooms, and I had to run from room to room to start the recording, we generally would start the video before the session actually began, because sometimes I had to start 2 or 3 or 4 videos all at the same time. So they'd be running, and then we'd ask people to start right at the hour. And then a tool like this could be used. Panopto has something very similar to trim off the beginning. And also if the person running the session did not click stop, there's some extra stuff at the end that we could just use to trim off the end. Now, actually, I believe scripted is a feature of the free account too. So let's talk about that before we look at some of the other abilities. The scripted thing is something that looks really interesting. I haven't yet used it, but basically you write a script for your video. So you would add a section. So it might be, the first section might be, hi, this video is, etc. So basically you write a script, then you put in more information here, and you keep adding sections, and you could have a paragraph or two that would correspond to essentially each of the segments of the video. So you'd write essentially your script, and then when you're ready to record it, what you would do, and I've only got some nonsense in there, but what you would do is I would click on the first one, and I would click record. And what it's going to do is it's going to put that text up. So I would then read the script and say it, and then I would go to the next one, and then I would read that script, that paragraph or two that I have for that next scene in the video, and then I would click next and do it for the next one. And the nice thing about it is this would be on top of whatever you had on the screen. So right now, what I have on the screen is all of this, but I could move this box in and out or out of the way. And I'm just going to stop this. But essentially what it lets you do is if you want to record something that's scripted, you can create the script right in here, and it would display on the screen at the same time as everything you're capturing. It would not capture the script. That would only be for your use. So it's layering it on top of what it's recording. And that's an interesting feature, because some people like to script out the videos, and this basically puts it right on the screen. Often people would have an iPhone or a tablet or paper somewhere off to the side that they'd be trying to read from. This at least is putting it somewhat close to the camera, especially if you're using the camera in the computer. You might be looking down a little bit, but for the most part, you're looking in the general direction of the camera rather than off to the side trying to read a script or looking at a different screen trying to read a script. So that's an interesting feature. And again, you could import or export the text or the audio and so forth, but I thought it was a kind of nice and interesting thing. I'm going to go back to the recordings. And now let's look at what the various plans offer. I'm going to drag over this this pricing plan, and the only accounts they now have are available for a year at a time. The deluxe plan is $1.65 a month, which is what, about $20 or so, roughly, I would guess, $21 for that. The premier plan is $4 a month or $48 for a year, and it's only displaying a portion of it because the screen is narrow. But oh, here, if we go down, here's all three plans. So the free plan lets you do the screen capture with some limitations, but one thing you cannot do with the free plan is zoom in while you're recording. You can do that with the paid plans. The trimming you can do with any of the plans. The captions are available on the free plan as well as the others. So it will automatically caption your video, and we can go back and test that in just a minute. You can save to the device on a free plan. You could publish to YouTube, Google Drive, and Screencast-o-matic directly on a free plan, or you could upload to Facebook, Twitter, and Google Classroom on any of the plans. There are some free music tracks if you want to put in some accompaniment. They have some licensed music that's available that you're free to use in any videos. You can only save to Dropbox or upload to Vimeo with a paid plan. The drawing tool, which I accidentally demonstrated before, is only available in one of the paid plans. The 15-minute limitation is part of the free plan. If you have either of the other plans, you could record longer videos, although it's probably not a good practice to do that. The free ones will have a little watermark in the bottom corner that will say recorded by Screencast-o-matic. And we see those on lots of instructional videos. You can't record the system audio on the free plan. So you'd have to play it on the speakers and then record it with a microphone. You're not able to create GIFs with the free plan. The automated speech-to-text captioning is not available, but you can add captions with a free one. The script tool is not available either. I thought that was there before I got the paid one. There's more features with these. So having videos overlays, videos in picture, adding image, adding arrows, shapes, adding videos on top of videos and so forth, adding videos in videos, all those require the paid plan. And one of the interesting things, which is a really useful tool that not all of it, that is not available in lots of others, is a blur sensitive information. With even that plan that's about $20 or so, you can blur a portion of the screen. So if you were, for example, doing a demo showing students how to do things in their grade book, you could blur out all the grades. Or if you were doing a demo showing something where it has identifying information, you could just blur that out so people couldn't read it. But if you wanted to, that can be useful. The green screen filter is only in the paid plans. The screenshots tools are available in all of them, and etc. And well, let me just put this thing in the chat. So there's some other differences here. If you want it, what I would suggest is that you try this with a free plan, and if you like it and you want to do some editing with it after a while, then consider upgrading to the deluxe plan. The premier plan is probably not as important. If we just look at these last two columns, the differences are pretty small for most people. One difference with the paid one is, or with the highest route, is you get more stock images. But there's so much public domain images out there and Creative Commons images, you probably don't really need any of those. You can get a custom video player, which again is probably not that important because most people will play things in YouTube or Panopto or other places. The ad-free playback pages, that would only be relevant if you were on their server. Usually people will put it in other places. Oh, you can record longer videos, but you can only upload videos that are shorter than 15 minutes to YouTube and other sites. And what else? and you have secure backup on this. The other thing that might be useful is there's an app for iOS and Android phones where if you have the most expensive plan, you then could record on your phone and upload directly into this program without having to save it and then import it. On the other hand, with the free plan, you could record on your phone. Well, with the lower price free plan, you have that. Now, just looking back at the additional features you get with a paid plan, let's take a look at that again. We'll take that first recording I did and just look at some of the tools. I'm going to click on edit to go back into editing mode. And let me make this a little bit bigger. There we go. So you can see things a little bit better. All of the editing tools, or virtually all of them, are available under the tools menu here. So you click on the tools menu and you see what you've got there. You've got the cut tool, which we've already seen. You've got a copy tool, which will let you copy a portion of the video. Basically, you highlight a block of it, you cut it, and then you copy it, and then you could paste it elsewhere in the video. You have the ability to hide the cursor or the webcam for a portion of the video. So if you're recording the webcam for the whole time, you can hide the webcam if you want to focus on what's on the screen, and then you could essentially unhide it when you get to another point. So you could hide that for portions of your video so that your talking head would come in and out. Similarly, the cursor, that if you want the cursor to display, it will display on the screen, and by default, it's a circle that moves around the screen. If you, but you can also choose to hide it if you don't want it on top of your video. Other tools, you could insert new recordings into a recording. You could insert so in other words, if you want to insert a recording in the middle of a video you have, you could just pick the point where you want that, record a new video, and it will be embedded right there. You can insert an existing recording into the recording. You can pause the video, etc. And you can also insert a video that's already on your computer or use one of their stock videos. And they provide quite a few of those. And the narration is, suppose you created this video and it's mostly slides or images, or you had a video that you took from your phone and you want to narrate it to do a voiceover, and you just add the narration tool and you choose where you want it. And then you could choose this to go to the end or the beginning, or you have the ability to drag it. Let's choose that. We can just, well, you can certainly do it to the beginning this way. And now it's marked that segment. It's not displaying too well on this computer. It worked much better on my Mac. I'm not quite sure why. You could choose to select all. And now I'm seeing the purple a bit more clearly. I'm going to cancel that. And, and basically, though, you can do a voiceover for any portion of this if you want to. And you just choose narrate again, and you narrate over. And now I'm seeing it. Okay. So this would be a narration over that part of the video, which would be a voice on top of whatever had been recorded there. So, if you have video footage you took on vacation or while you're traveling with a class or something, or if you're in another country or in another location, or if you're recording a concert, or if you're recording things from a museum or a display, you could record it quietly and then do a voiceover later. And you can choose what portion, and then you just click start, and it will, it's now going to do the voiceover right on top of that segment. And it's recording on top of it now. So it's going to be my voice on top of my voice, which is probably more than it needs to be. But I am now going to, and I am going to stop it. And I can stop it. Oh, now I'm going to record it. There we go. So it's now recording that voiceover, and this is a length of time that was blocked. So it's recording the audio that's now going to be added to that segment of the video. And now continue recording where you left off. Okay, so there we go. Start holding. And well, in any case, that will cut off that last part. I'm going to click done. And it's now added that voiceover to that segment of the video. And other tools.
So John, I have a question.
Sure.
I mean, this is a great tool, and there's so many tools. Some of them are similar. This one has features than like Zoom and Panopto. But one of my questions, and it comes back to a concern, is we have great resources at SUNY Oswego, but in resources in regards to knowledge, but when it comes to having them available to staff, faculty, and students, if we're talking about reducing cost of textbook and other resources that students need to make it more accessible, and also for faculty, I mean, you know, yeah, this is great it's $4, but if you get, this is $4 and something else we need is for, you know.
Oh, I know.
It adds
It
up.
does add up, yes.
So, and how do we get something that's going to be maintained, not just for one semester or 2 semesters, but something that we know will be recurring? What are your thoughts on that?
And well, we do have tools that you can use that will do everything this does and more. Specifically, we have Panopto to do the screen recording part, which is basically equivalent to this. The only difference is Panopto does not directly upload to YouTube or to Google Drive, but you can save it to your computer and then upload it. So Panopto will do all of this, and that is free. So that's pretty much a duplicate of this. And so the free version of this is basically equivalent to Panopto effectively. And you can always, you know, one advantage of this is this will work on Chromebooks, and it will work on, because it's web-based. If you're traveling somewhere and you don't have that, you could always use a free version just to do a quick recording and then save it or upload it somewhere and then use other tools. But for most things, Panopto is fine. The only advantage of this is the easy editing tools and the powerful editing tools that are not available in Panopto. Panopto will allow you to trim the beginning and the end, and will let you cut the video, and it will let you do some copy and pasting, but it does not have the overlay tools. It doesn't do the same sort of narration for other layers. It won't let you insert things in the same way. It won't let you insert images. It won't let you, there's tools here to do speeding up or slowing down the videos. There's transition effects, so you get some nice smooth transitions. So this is a really low cost. Well, I mean, for $20, that's a really low cost editing tool. I don't use this in general, which is why I was fumbling a little bit there. I use Camtasia, but I've been using that for like 12 years or so, maybe more now. I've been using it pretty much since it first came out. But it's a, you know, if you want to do some fairly powerful editing with limited cost, it's a good tool. However, if you have a Mac or an iPhone or an iPad, you've got iMovie that will do most of these things really easily. And that has a really simple interface, and it will do everything you really need to do that this has. This has some extra features, but they're not really that likely to be used. But the college also provides the free tool of Adobe Premiere to faculty who request it. Adobe Premiere is incredibly powerful, but it's also a whole lot more complex, that the interface is it's not as intuitive. This is a really intuitive interface. There's help available. There's videos that they created within Screencast-o-matic demonstrating all the tools. And so, you know, this is a tool that most faculty in the country use when they create videos, unless they have other more powerful tools like Camtasia or other things.
Well, and that's what I'm thinking is from the perspective for me, if I'm going to be creating videos for my students, there's at least a few videos a week that are going to be coming out. That's aside from prepping, but also for students, because I teach the health and technology class. So, and they're creating videos, something that's going to be user-friendly. Like you mentioned, Adobe, yeah, it's great, but it is complex.
It is.
And with the narration piece in this, I know some students have used it. Their videos came out wonderful, very professional looking. So how can we offer this to more students is what I'm thinking, and to faculty as well. That may not be tech savvy, but want to have this source. And Panopto, you mentioned that it's wonderful, but there are some limitations that are not. and features.
Panopto is relatively inexpensive as tools like that go in terms of the scale. And Panopto gives us unlimited uploads, and the fee is based on how often the videos are downloaded. So the unlimited upload and storage capabilities in that is really helpful. And the fact that it's connected to Blackboard and it's automatically putting it in there is really handy. Now, this does have LTI integration, so this could connect to Blackboard as well. But to many ways, it would duplicate what Panopto does, unless you're doing it for editing, and where we do have the more powerful tool. And given that the budgets are so tight, now it's not very likely we get something like this. I know a lot of schools do support this, but yeah,
It's good to know. Thank you.
But those are all important issues, and I know, and I'm always hesitant. There's a lot of tools that I use that I don't give workshops on because they are expensive, and I wouldn't recommend something that would be very expensive to faculty. I never use much besides Camtasia, except when I have to. The only time when I use Adobe Premiere is when we have it back in the days when we were meeting in person and we had guest speakers where we might have 3 or 4 cameras recording their talks from different locations in the room. I used it for the multi-camera edits because it has that capability. So, we got 4 panels up there, and then we can switch from one panel to another, depending on where we get the best view of what's happening. We might have some views of the people engaged in activities, some of the speaker from different sides and so forth. But otherwise, if you want to learn how to use Premiere, that will do all this and much, much, much more. And it has some wonderful tools. But, just for basics, this is kind of a pretty decent tool. And for $20, it may be worth thinking about. But I generally don't ask students to do it. I tell them to use one of the free tools. Yeah, when I've had students create videos, I've encouraged them to use iMovie if they have a Mac or an iPhone or an iPad. And I've encouraged them to, I haven't done this in a few years, but I encourage them to use Window Movie Maker back when that was the norm. I know it's still available over Citrix now, but it used to be available up for the first couple of years of Windows 10, but now they pulled it, so they're not distributing it for Windows 10 any longer. But there are other free video editing tools that you could use on a Windows machine that will do a lot of this, so there are free alternatives. But
okay, thank you so much.
Welcome. So, any question? Lynn, do you have any questions?
No, thanks. I'm good. It's been a really great presentation, though. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. But, try the free thing and see if it's helpful. But again, I would probably, if you're going to do screen recording, settle in on either Panopto or this. You don't want to be switching back and forth, although they're both really intuitive. Panopto is about as easy as it gets. You just open it, you choose what to record, you click record. But then again, this is very similar to that too. So, if we go back up, you just click on it. We choose you choose record, and you specify it launches a recorder, and you choose what you want to record, and then you just click record and it does a countdown. And that's pretty much how Panopto works too. My first time using this was when I was presenting a 3-hour workshop with a colleague from Genesee Community College on creating welcome videos for classes. And we were at SUNY Potsdam, and I believe it was either Potsdam or Plattsburgh. But in any case, we were in a Mac lab. We were told what software they had, and it looked great. But it turned out the software they had wouldn't work with the microphones or the cameras on the computers they had installed. So they had all Macs, but the operating system was too old to support the built-in camera on that. So we had about 25 faculty members there expecting a workshop on those computers on doing screen recordings and making videos and welcome videos. And we had software that just wouldn't work. So I did some quick searching. We got there about 2 or 3 hours before to test everything because, you know, we've done enough of that to be careful that way. And the only tool we could find that would work on that, because they had the admin rights shut down, was Screencast-o-matic. So we very quickly learned how to use it. And that's what all the faculty in the workshop used. And it was, you know, we learned it within about a half an hour to an hour, enough to train the faculty who were using it. And it worked nicely. And it didn't require admin rights to the computer, and it didn't require any expensive downloads, because all they were doing is this basic recording there. So, you know, there are cases where knowing that it's out there and it's available could be useful if you need to record somewhere where you don't have your software with you, or if you're using a borrowed computer or something. So that is another use case. Any other questions? Okay. Well,
Thank you so much. Thank
you're
you.
welcome.
This was very helpful.
You're welcome. And now I'm tempted, now that I paid for it, I'm tempted to use it a little bit more just to try it.